Hey, my name is Marty Leeds, and today we're going to take a look at the hands of God and its relationship to pi. And we know pi is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, and it's the number 3.141. And how we're going to come to understand the hands of God is through English gematria. Here's the cipher we have for the English alphabet. So please take the time to pause the video and write this down, as it'll help as we move on through the video. I'm not going to go over this cipher here. There's many references of this, explanations as to where we derive this. You can look up on Marty Leeds 33 on YouTube, pi in English gematria, dice, and then the holy number 7 are 3 videos where I explain this cipher in depth. Or you can check out the books Pi in the English Alphabet Volume 1 and Volume 2, where I actually explain the cipher in 2 different methods. So yeah, let's get into it and let's look at the hands of God. So what we're going to do in this video is come to understand the divinity of man, the sacredness of man, and how we can understand that through the human hands. We're going to take a look at Hermeticism, alchemy, Freemasonry, and then we're going to focus on the title of the Holy Bible here. So the first thing that we have to know is we're going to focus on the human hands here. As many of you know, you have 28 phalanges on your hands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 times 2 equals 28. So these little sections on your fingers and thumb, we add them up, it equals 28. And so we can see that our 10 fingers that have 28 phalanges, these two numbers become very important in understanding. They're intimately related to the human being, 10 and 28. And so we can actually see this play out in the term Holy Bible. So using our cipher that we got from the Holy Bible, we can see here that Holy Bible equals 28, and those are talking about, once again, the 28 phalanges of your hands. And so, in Matthew 3:2, it says, "Repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." And so what this is, once again, a Zen or mystical way of expressing, a poetic way of expressing man's divinity. It's not this fire and brimstone apocalyptic, repent for you're going to burn in hell kind of thing. It's basically a Zen way, trickery, if you will, of embodying or symbolizing the divinity of man. And that you can understand that through the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So focusing on the mathematics of your hand is pretty important, because we actually get the word digit from the word digitus, and digitus means finger. It's a Latin word that means finger. And so, the idea of, where did we learn mathematics? Well, according to the word, we learned it from our hands. And so where did we learn numbers? Where did we learn digits? Where did we learn math? We learned it from ourselves. And this is what's being said in the Holy Bible, the 28. Now, so, we find this number 28 right before we even open the Holy Bible. And, when we do open the Holy Bible, the first verse is Genesis 1:1. And of course, this is in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, what Genesis 1:1 is a primer. A primer is like an elementary text to help you explain, to help you understand the rest of the text. And so this is the first verse of Genesis, and it's in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. Now, this is a little graphic here. You can actually see that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. There's 10 words in English, and we go to the Hebrew cipher, or we go to the Hebrew translation of the text, and there's 28 letters. And so whether we're talking about English or Hebrew, we can actually fit the first verse of Genesis, which is a primer for the rest of the text, on the human hands. So 28 phalanges in Hebrew and 10 fingers for English. And so not only do we have Holy Bible talking about the 28 phalanges of your two hands, we open it up, and the first verse is once again trying to reiterate this concept. And that's once again the divinity of man. Now, in the creation, in the story of creation in the Holy Bible, Genesis, it has the idea of God doing his work in 6 days and resting on the 7th. This number 7 is seen time and time again, and we know that 7 in our cipher is 22, and 22 divided by 7 is a whole number approximation of pi. It's 3.142. So we already inherently know, just from their cipher, that 7 is important. this motif of 6 days of God doing work and then resting on the seventh is actually talking about the three-dimensional mathematics of the God that is you. It's the divinity of man. So up, down, left, right, forward, reverse, and then that seventh point, the axis point, the axis of the 6 directions of space. And that axis point is you resting on the seventh or the Sabbath and experiencing the whole world, the holiness of the world. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, resting on the seventh. An axis is nothing more than an anagram for us 6. And so it's literally 6 resting on the seventh, if you will, the alpha, which is you. So why is this number 7 important? Because 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 equals 28. And so not only do we see that 7, the word 7 encodes pi, but it also encodes the 28 phalanges of your hands. And it's also the 6 directions of space resting on the 7. So there's a lot of importance there. And it's all referencing, once again, that's all encoded with 28. 1 through 7 equals 28. We can go to 7 and find pi and find the 6 directions of space, etc. And all of this is a reference to you. So, this Bib El, we're going to focus on this Bib El. When, if I lay my hand out here and I ask you, what letter does that represent in the English alphabet? Well, without question, that would be the letter L. And of course, we have 2 of these L's. And so they're mirrored L's, and we're going to get into that in just a bit. We're actually going to take a look at the numerology of this, but this mirrored L's. Now, the name L is a name for God. So L, or phonetically L, same as sound being emitted from your mouth. L in our cipher, first off, is 5, 2, and this equals 7. And so once again, 6 directions of space resting on the 7th. Pi, 1 through 7 equals 28. But El is a name for God in Arabic, Phoenician, Syriac, Akkadian, Semitic, all of these different languages. This phonetic sound of El is a name for God. And so we have that El right there. And so the holy Bib El is talking about 2 gods. And the 2 gods that it's talking about are within the human being. We're going to explore this entire idea here. Now, basically, the L is talking about the electromagnetism of the human being. And this electromagnetism, of course, electromagnetism, just look at a magnet. You have a magnet and it's got a polarity, it's got a positive and negative, which is nothing more than a duality. And so we're going to explore this duality, and it's an alchemical process of merging this duality to become one. And this is exactly what's being said in the Holy Bible. There's 2, Bi meaning 2, El meaning God. So there's 2 gods within a wholeness, within a holiness. And so what are those 2 gods? We can understand this entire phenomenon through electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is the force that pervades all the universe, of course. And electromagnetism, as we just said, has a positive and negative. Now, this positive and negative is nothing more than any duality that's being expressed. We see it in Genesis 1:1. What are those dualities? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The opposites. Created, this is Adam, Eve. This is positive, negative. This is, yin, yang, Shiva, Shakti. This is centripetal, centrifugal forces. This is as above, so below. This is wholeness and singularity. And the whole idea of them being whole is that they're 2 aspects of one motion. And so the whole idea of the process of divinity, the process of recognizing one's sacredness, is to merge those 2 opposites to become one with the undifferentiated light of creation. And so we actually see this in alchemy here. Well, we see it in a bunch of different places. There's a few sketches here. Anytime you have, this is actually shown as, it's expressed as the male and female merging the halves within the self. So the spirit, the energy that's within the human vessel is electromagnetic, has a positive and negative at Adam and Eve, heaven and earth. And we're going to merge those two. And this is symbolized by the merging of the sun and the moon. The sun is, of course, a male aspect, and then the moon is of course, female. And so it's saying that the bi-el, the two gods within the human being, need to merge and become holy or whole. And so we see this in Freemasonry. You see, hard to see here, but you have a sun and moon, of course, and bringing those together, and that's nothing more than talking about the positive and negative, and we're going to merge those two. This is Christ here. You can see Christ on the cross, crucified. You have a moon and a sun there. Bunch of different examples of this. Once again, that's Christ on the cross, the sun and the moon, merging those two. Another alchemical portrait, sun and moon, once again, the sun, moon, merging together in the caduceus. There's an alchemical vessel here. It's a trinity, just highly, highly symbolic. This is, I just absolutely love this one. This is, you know, the alchemist or the magician here is pointing to the human being, and this human being is, you can see there's a division right here. You know, there's the regenerative members of both the male and female, the breasts, and then just the chest of man, and it's got the two heads, and it's got a male and female, and that's recognizing that you're made of electromagnetism, that you have a positive and negative within the human being, and that the idea is to merge them into one. And this is why he's holding up the why. And so not only is the why asking the question, why? You know, what is my purpose here? What am I doing here? Why? That's, you know, that's, and then the why is telling you. It's taking two opposites and merging them into one. It's the Bibe-el, that's holy, merging them into one. And that's why he's holding up the why. And so that's that idea playing out in alchemy once again. Yet another one, two-headed man-woman merged into one being, same thing. And then we have, once again, sun and the moon. And so you'll see this motif play out everywhere. So you see in Hermeticism, alchemy, Freemasonry, as we saw, and then, of course, we see it in the Holy Bible as well. And this is, once again, talking about that the human being is made up of, and you can even just see this as how we're made up. You know, there's that division. It's a positive and a negative, and we're going to merge them into one. And so this idea of merging into one, we actually see this idea of, well, in Jungian psychology, it's called the anima and the animus. And the anima is the woman within the man, and then the animus is the man within the woman. It's basically the idea that you have that duality within you, that there's a woman, if you're a man, there's a woman inside you, if you're a woman, there's a man inside you, or the electromagnetism within you, the spirit within you has the polarity, and you're going to merge them into one. This is from this idea. We see this in the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, or the Kabayan. This is one of the 7 Hermetic principles. Once again, there's that 7. It's called the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. It says, this principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything. The masculine and feminine principles ever at work. That means there's a male and female within you. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the higher planes, it takes higher forms, but the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without this principle. So it says that on the physical plane, this principle manifests as sex, and sex is nothing more than 6. Same numerology, 653, using our cipher. And that 6 is, once again, it's the axis, and then resting on the 7th. Taking the opposites and merging them into one. This is 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 to find the 7th point right in the center. And that's, once again, that's male, female. The act of sex is nothing more than giving and receiving. And this giving and receiving is, once again, it's 2 aspects of one motion, one universal motion, giving, receiving. You know, as above, so below. heaven, earth, two aspects of one unified reality. So that's the Kabayan, that's the Holy Bible. And then this is actually from, this is a really great book. It's Sacred Path Cards by Jamie Sands. Hankaka Alawampi is the name. It says, I'm not sure if it's a he or she, but this person was from the Seneca tribe. And it says here that the Seneca had an ideology or philosophy, and it says, we humans are catalyzers who have electromagnetic giving and receiving bodies. We are the bridge that connects earth and sky when we are in harmony. Like Mother Earth and Father Sky, we are male and female in nature. The command of usable energy comes when male and female are in balance within us. So once again, it's that merging or that balance or that finding the harmony of both the positive and the negative, the Adam and the Eve, the duality within you that's seen right on your hands, the Bi-El, the two gods, and bringing them in harmony. Now, this whole idea of merging the sun and the moon comes straight from Egypt. And they, of course, worshipped in Egypt. They have the scarab beetle. And you can see this is the scarab beetle there. It's got the wings flying up towards the heavens. And then, of course, it's got its hands up and it's holding the sphere of creation or the wholeness or the circle. And so you have the two hands going up, the Bi-Els, the two gods, and the holiness. Now, the Egyptians weren't actually worshiping the beetle. What they were worshiping was the principles that were at work that the beetle embodied, the numbers and the symbols behind it. So we have, this is from Hurapalan, and writing on about the scarab beetle on a papyrus about 2,500 years ago. And he said that the scarab beetle buries her ball in the ground where it remains hidden for 28 days. A space of time equal to that of the revolution of the moon, during which period the offspring of the scarab quickens. On the 28th day, which the insect knows to be that of the conjunction of the sun and the moon and the birth of the world, it opens the ball and throws it into the water. From this ball issues animals that are scarabs. Basically, it's the idea that you have this beetle and it rolls its dung balls in this backwards motion. It buries it into the ground for 28 days, and then on the 28th day, at the conjunction of the sun and the moon, or the positive and the negative, or the Adam and Eve, the heaven and earth, new scarabs emerge. The offspring emerges. So it's the idea of burying death and resurrection. And that's exactly what this entire process of alchemy is talking about. In alchemy, this is known as the alchemical marriage or the alchemical wedding. And so it's talking about, once again, dying to the lower self, the divided self, and unifying and raising up, finding that new reborn human being. And so this is, of course, we hear about death and resurrection all over. John 3:3, except a man be born again, he cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. This is all it's saying. It's that you're dying to that lower animal nature and being reborn. And so we know that. So we can see that 28 is referenced even in Egypt and right to the scarab beetle, one of the most venerated symbols or insects of the Egyptian mythos or religion, whatever you'd like to say. The alchemical wedding This, you can pause the video and double check all this if you'd like. Alchemical wedding equals 59. Alchemical marriage equals 59. And Jesus Christ equals 59. And so we see here, here's alchemy talking about the alchemical, well, here, let's use this one. The marriage, the harmony, bringing together, unifying the Bi-El, the two gods into one. Alchemical marriage equals 59, and then, of course, so does that merging, once again, of the sun and moon of alchemy right there. That's Christian alchemy. That's Jesus Christ equaling 59, merging the halves within himself. Merging the halves within himself, and that's right there, alchemical wedding, alchemical marriage. Jesus Christ. And so that's what all of this idea of merging the halves is. Now, we actually see this entire idea of merging the halves and becoming one with the undifferentiated light of the Creator in the act of prayer. Prayer is not, I mean, what do we do when we pray? We put our hands out, we bring them together, and then we pray, right? Now, prayer is, it's basically being completely misconstrued by modern religions. Prayer is not the idea of kneeling down, putting your hands together, and sending your thoughts out to some God that exists in some celestial, ethereal sphere or whatever. What it's doing is saying we're going to merge. We're going to take that positive, we're going to take that negative, we're going to take that anima and the animus, we're going to take the yin and yang, and we're going to bring them together and make them whole. We're going to make the Bib El, the two gods, the two L's, we're going to bring them together and make them holy. And so therefore, we are one. We are in harmony with the Creator. We have atoned. We are at atonement with all of creation. And that we are one with that. And so this idea of heaven and earth, that we are, we are the reflection of both. This is the giving and receiving once again. Here's heaven and here's earth. Here's your left hand, here's your right hand, if you will, and you're going to bring them together and make that and recognize your true divine nature, and that the sphere, the entire sphere of creation is within you. So, and so the Holy Bible. Now, and we're going to get onto the numerology of your hands in just a second here, but what's important to understand is Holy Bible. Bible comes from the word biblios, which means book. And so many people say, you have, well, of course, John 1:1, in the beginning God created, or in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and ultimately that Word became flesh. And people think that what that Word is this. People think that the Word of God, well, that's the Holy Bible. But that's not what is being said. The book is nothing more than you. The book of life, the consecration of God's holy word is you. It's not the Holy Bible. And this is why books have spines. Human beings have a spine. And of course, the spine is where the 7 chakras are. And so we want to take that process of raising that Christos, it's called the Christos, and that fluid, that essay, that psychophysical germinal seed, I think is what George Carey calls it, taking that fluid, that energy, that source, and raising it up the spine, and that's why books have spines. So, and 1 through 7 equals 28. Well, Holy Bible equals 28. So this spine of the book is actually right there is actually incorporating or symbolizing cryptically, veiling the idea of the 7 chakras. And what does the spine of this book do? Merges a left and a right. That's merging the opposites. It's the 2 gods, merging them into one. And so the consecration of the holy word of God is not this book. This book is trying to tell you about the consecration of the holy word. And what is that holy word of God? That's this book. It's the book of life. It's you. So what we're going to do is take a look at unifying those opposites. We're going to take a look at the as above and the so below, the heaven and the earth, the infinite and the finite, the wholeness and the singularity, and we're going to bring them into one and unify them as one. And we can see this in the numerology of Holy and Bible. Once again, we can say Bib-El, 2 gods within the human being. We're going to merge those with the alchemical process. So we can say that Bible is man, and holiness is, of course, this would be the God, because this is the wholeness. It's the holiness. It's the 360 degrees of all of creation. It's the limit and sphere of creation. And this is a whole. It's a circle. And so we can attribute holiness to God and whole to God and Bible to man. And so this is the idea of the giving and receiving, finite and infinite, are 2 aspects of one unified whole. And so we can see this in the monad. We actually have, this would be the wholeness or the holiness of God. Sorry for my sloppy writing. God, and then this would be the singularity of man. And so it's the idea that God is viewing his creation through you. This is the singular point, viewing all of creation, recognizing that all of creation is actually in that point as well. And so this wholeness and singularity, finite and infinite, is also known as macrocosm and microcosm. Well, macro, of course, would be God, because you're talking about the macrocosm, the limit, the sphere. So you'd say that this is the macro. And then the micro would be the finite, which would be man. And so you'd have the micro. And once again, holy equals 12, and then Bible equals 16. We can see macro equals 12, and then micro equals 16. And so exactly what the Holy Bible is talking about, the holiness of God and the singularity of the Bible, of man, or the Bible, the two L's. And then you have the macro of God, and then the micro, and then we have 12 and 16. So the numerology works really well there. Now, this idea of what's between the macro and the micro, well, it's the numerical representation of creation, and that's pi. And we can see that between the numbers 12 and 16 are 13, 14, and 15. So between holy and Bible are 12 and 16. Between macro and micro or 12 and 16 is 13, 14, and 15. You drop the 1 here, put a decimal place there, and you get 3.1415. It's pi. And so this infinite transcendental number is between the microcosm and the macrocosm. It's between the holy and the Bible. Now, why is this important? Because the numbers between 12 and 16 are 13, 14, and 15. And 13 plus 14 plus 15 equals 42. And there are 42 principles of the Egyptian Ma'at. And these are the principles of law, order, and truth. They were cosmological principles that the Egyptians followed. And so the question, is like, why is that 42? Why the number 42? In Douglas Adams' book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 42 is the answer to life. In Kabbalistic tradition, 42 is the number which God created the universe in. And the original Gutenberg Bible actually had 42 lines per page. And so once again, we ask, why 42? It's right between Holy and Bible, before we even open up this book. And it's right between the macrocosm and the microcosm. 42 also finds its way into a rainbow. And of course, how many colors are in a rainbow? 7. Adding 1 through 7 once again equals the 28 of the macro and micro, or the Holy and Bible. When you look up at a rainbow, you look up to the top of the rainbow. Of course, the rainbow is, it's an arc, 180 degrees. Then you have what's known as the anti-solar point. And from the top of the rainbow to the anti-solar point, this is actually 42 degrees. And so this number shows up again. And so we have the number 42 being established right where we find pi in our number line, 3.1415. And this is important because it's the idea of the macro and micro, the wholeness of God, and then the singularity of the human being, the Bible, the book of life. So you literally have the alpha and the omega, we can say. And you could say the first thing and the last thing, the singularity and the wholeness, the as above and the so below, the heaven and the earth, whatever you want to say. Between those two, between the macro and the micro, is that the numbers of pi. Once again, 3.141 with 3.1415, and pi is an infinite, irrational, transcendental number. It's infinite. It's transcendental. So the infinite, it's infinite nature. And it's basically saying that infinity, and the infinity sign looks like this. It's an 8. It's actually usually on its side. But it's literally when you, put your pen here and just draw an 8. We're going to go out, we're going to go out, we're going to go out, and then we're going to come back in. And then we're going to go in and go in and go in, and we're going to come back out. We're going to go out, we're going to go out, we're going to come back in. Out and in, out and in. In and out are the same two aspects of one unified whole, once again. And so that's what's important. So we actually see this idea of pi in the alchemical process as well, because the alchemical process is turning lead into gold. And lead in our cipher equals 12, and gold equals 15. And of course, the numbers between 12 and 15 are 13 and 14. Drop the 1 there, put a decimal place there, and we have 3.14. That's pi. So the process of turning lead into gold obviously has to do with pi. And you also have 13 and 14. All you have to do is mirror these, and you have 3.141. Put a decimal place there, and you have pi, 3.141. And so recognizing that, we can actually see this idea of the anima and the animus, or the alchemical marriage, the alchemical wedding, the sun and the moon, within pi, within basically the first mathematical ratio of all creation, which was pi. You have, a circle, the wholeness, and then you have that circle divided. And that's nothing more than the positive and the negative, the yin and the yang, the Shiva and the Shakti, the Adam and the Eve, the centripetal and centrifugal forces. It's the opposites. It's the as above and so below, as one unified whole. Now, when pi was created, between the macro and the micro, what happened? It spun into existence. And so it's the idea of, the Nile River. Nile, by the way, is nothing more than an anagram for line. And what does a river do but snake? So you have a line that got put into time that became a sine wave. And that's the yin-yang symbol. And so it's the idea, once again, the alchemical marriage, the alchemical wedding. There's two gods within you, and that's a man and a woman. Genesis even talks about this in Genesis 1:27. God made man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And so there's the idea that there's a male and female. And so within every man is a woman, and within every woman is a man. So what we're going to do is actually focus on this number 37, which is a very particular number. We're going to take a look at the qualities of it. And the question is, of course, why are we looking at the number 37? This number 37 is encoded in Holy Bible. Holy equals 12 once again, and then Bible we know equals 16. This is nothing more than the macrocosm and the microcosm. Holy, 1 plus 2 is 3. And Bible is 16, 1 plus 6 is 7. And 3 and 7 are two of the most holy numbers of all. This is, of course, the 7 days of creation, 7 chakras, 7 notes in the major scale, etc., etc. We've gone over 7. And then 3 is, of course, the Holy Trinity. It's the first polygon in existence. And so numerologically, we can look at this as 37. Now, what's interesting is that this number 37 is actually referencing the alchemical marriage and the alchemical wedding. This is the king and the queen. Using our cipher, king equals 16 and queen equals 21. And 16 plus 21 equals 37. And this merging of the king and the queen, this is nothing more than, once again, symbolized as the sun and moon, positive and negative, Adam and Eve, as above, so below, microcosm, macrocosm. It's merging them into one and making them unified, making them holy. This number 37 is within the king and queen. This is also in the Virgin Mary. And Virgin Mary, you add this up, it equals 37 as well. Now, one of the things that the Virgin Mary is embodying is this idea of, virgin means purity, and Mary is, of course, marriage. So it's a purity of marriage. So what is that? That's the alchemical marriage. To find the purity, the pure, undifferentiated light of God, you have to marry. You have to marry the king and the queen. And so we find that 37 in King and Queen and Virgin Mary. and then, of course, holy and Bible. So the number 37 is pretty interesting. It's got this really peculiar property to it, and I want to thank her name is Tammy Lind, I believe, and she got me hip to this. So thanks to her. If you take a number like 666, 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18, and 18 times 37 is 666. You know, same thing with 5, 5, 5. 5 plus 5 equals 15. 15 times 37 equals 555. So it's this very peculiar property that that is within 37. So so what we can do is we're going to take a look at this 37 as well, and we can actually find this on the human hands. Once again, we had 28 phalanges on our hands, right? So we had 2 on our thumb and then 3 on each finger, 14 on your left hand, 14 on your right hand, together to equal 28. So we can do the numerology of the word 14. So we have, you know, this would be our left hand and then our right hand. Putting the numbers to the letters, we see that 47 equals, or I mean 14, excuse me, equals 37, and of course we'd have the same here. And so that number 37 that's in numerologically 37 is right on your hand. 37 there and 37. Why this is important is this equals 74. 37, so we did the numerology of 14, it equals 37. 37 on both hands, we put them together, that equals 74. This is the numbers between king and queen. King equals 16, remember, and then queen equals 21 using our cipher. The numbers between 16 and 21 are 17, 18, 19, and 20, and add that up, it's 74. So once again, that's the merging, the Virgin Mary, the purity of marriage, of the soul within the human being, the Bible, bringing them together through the act of the alchemical marriage, alchemical wedding, and 74. And that's the exact same thing as taking those 14 and 14 and bringing them together in the act of prayer. Why this is important is left hand equals 32, and then right hand equals 42. And of course, 32 plus 42 is nothing more than 74. So the numbers between king and queen equals 74, left hand and right hand equals 74, and then 14 and 14, doing the numerology of those, equals 37, key number, and equals 74. It's also interesting that they, in the Bible, they talk about sitting at the right hand of the Father. And of course, you shake with your right hand. Most people are right-handed, and you write with your right hand. And lo and behold, we look at the numerology of right hand, and it equals 42. Principles of the Egyptian Mot. And so that's all right there. So another interesting thing about this is when you actually do the numerology, not the numerology, if you add up the digits between 32 and 42, which is 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, if you add this up, it's 333. And so that's, you know, that's literally the Trinity taken into a Trinity times 37, and it equals 333. And that's right between your left hand and your right hand. So pretty interesting there. Now this, well, when we look at the wholeness, the holiness of God, in the Holy Bible, it's represented as 12. Why is this interesting? Because 12, once again, we said that the Bible, the two gods that are within you, are a representation of the wholeness. It's just a reflection. So we should find the 28 phalanges of our hands. Accordingly, we should find this in the word holy, and that's exactly what we find. Holy equals 12, and 12 equals, doing the numerology of it, equals 28. And then we added 1 plus 2 equals 3. Do the numerology of 3, and you can bet. Sorry for my sloppy writing. It equals 28. So, you know, 3 equals 28, Holy Trinity. 12, which is representative of the holiness, equals 28. And then you have Holy Bible equaling 28. And that's all talking about you and the Bible, El, the two gods within the human being. Now, what's interesting is that we're gonna play with some math here a little bit. When you your left hand, well, we looked at 14 phalanges on each hand, so we did the numerology of 14, and it gave us 37. And so we have 37 here and 37 here. But notice your hands are mirrored. You have a left hand and a right hand. This is the as above and the so below, the microcosm and the macrocosm, the finite and the infinite. And of course, we want to bring those together once again in the act of prayer and make them whole. Your left hand is a mirror of your right hand. So if you have 37 on one hand, that means if you mirrored that number, you would have the number 73. So we did the numerology of the 14 phalanges of your hands. It equals 37. We're going to take the mirror of 37, and it'll be 73. Why is this important? Because the 12th prime number is 37, and the 73rd prime number is the 21st prime number is 73. And that's a mirror. And a prime number is a number divisible by 1 in itself. And so we look. The 12th prime number is 37. We take the mirror of 12, it equals 21, and we find that the 21st prime number is 73. And that's right in your hands. So what we're going to do is, hopefully everybody gets that. So what we're going to do is just play with this a little bit. We're going to play with this 37 and 73. 37 being the 12th prime number, 73 being the 21st prime number. They're mirrors. The 37 times 73 gives you the number 2,701. And we're going to do this right on a calculator. And we're going to find God in this math here. So we have I'll just multiply it here. 37 times 73 equals 2,701. Hopefully everybody can see that. And what we're going to do is take the mirror of that. Because we were dealing with mirrors. 12th prime number, 21st prime number, 3773, just like your hands. The mirror of 2,701 is 1,072. So what we're going to do is take 2,701 and we're going to add 1,072. And we're going to get the number 3,773, or 3773. But of course, we're just looking at that 3,773 or that 3773 from below. All we have to do is go above and we can find the two gods, the El and the El, or the Holy Bible. So we've been exploring the idea that the Holy Bible is actually representing the two gods, the Bible, El, the two gods within the human being, and that they are represented by the 28 phalanges of your hands. Is there any way to prove that there's this man and female within? All we have to do is look at the word 28, and we can see 20 equals 26, and 8 equals 30, and 26 plus 30 equals 56. And that's nothing more than the hands of Adam and the hands of Eve, positive and negative, 28 phalanges of representing the man and woman, the Adam and Eve within. And we can see this even further because mother in our cipher equals 26, and father equals 30. And so once again, that equals 56, and that's the idea of there's a man and woman within each human being, and that's the 28 phalanges of your hands. Now, coming to know, the idea that the kingdom of heaven resides in you, and coming to know that this God that dwells within, that has that polarity that you want to unify, is one of the great blessings and privileges of being a human. It's what makes our experience so unique. But this gift that we have been blessed with, this human temple, this experience, also comes with a great responsibility. So don't take it for granted. My name is Marty Leeds, and I've got 3 books for sale. One called Pi the Great Work, one called Pi in the English Alphabet Volume 1, and another called Pi in the English Alphabet Volume 2. You can get me at martyleeds33.com or at schooloftheholyscience.org. I also have a gematria calculator that you can get for your Android phone. It's at googleplay.com. Just look up Pi in English Gematria. I'll also have a radio show coming out fairly soon called Marty Leeds Mathemagical Radio Hour, where we're going to discuss myth, math, spirituality, symbolism, philosophy, and the holy sciences. And that's at astrotheologyradio.com. I also have an ongoing blog series at world-mysteries.com, and I'll have a full-length record coming out very soon called Opus Medico Musica that you'll be able to get at amazon.com, martyleeds33.com, and hopefully iTunes as well. And I will let you know when that comes out. So thanks for your time.